We needed somebody to come on and trash Michigan a little bit and give us an update on what's going on with the Sixers, the NBA draft, free agency. Who better to bring on than our man Keith Pompey? Keith, what's going on, man?
What's good, y'all? How you guys been?
We're fine, but we thought you were going to introduce yourself saying ho 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 with the beard you got going.
Oh, yeah, I got the Black Santa Claus thing going on. Yeah,
it's a look.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been gray longer than I've been bald, and I've been bald since I was 29. Yeah.
See, I wasn't going to start there. I was going to start with the basketball talk, but Jeff gets all insulted because you dropped the Ohio State stuff before we get going, and then he gets his blood worked up, and we don't actually get to what's going on. So can you tell me?
I didn't even know you were bald.
What are the Sixers?
News to me.
What are the Sixers do? I can't even ask you a question. Jeff can't figure it out. What are the Sixers doing here? Take Jared McCain first round of the draft. Let's talk about him first. Your thoughts on the pick and the fit.
You know what? It's weird. The Sixers had a lot of options, right? And one of their options was drafting Jared, right? So you weren't shocked because of that. But the thing is, the guy Connect from Tennessee, he was sliding. And, it was one of those things where I'm looking at it, I'm like, whoa, the Sixers, I'm wondering if they're going to get him, let me do everything. And when they didn't select him, I was shocked. I literally was. And then the Lakers take him the next pick. And the thing that was shocking to me was because, here's a guy, we're talking about NBA ready players. And we're talking about big players. And here's a guy who can shoot the ball, who can create his own shot. He can do certain things on the defensively. He's not, he struggles on the defensive end. But I felt like he could have come in and be one of those guys for him. I'm not saying I don't dislike the McCann pick. I think that he's a guy who can be a shooter, right? He's one of the best shooters in the draft. I like his personality, a lot of other things. But the concern that I had initially was, okay, so if he starts, if you want him to be a starter, you have two small guards on the defensive end in a league where everyone is getting bigger and more athletic. His defense isn't that good, and he's not the athlete that you want him to be, to do that right now. But he can come in, he can help space the floor, he can do a lot of things. So, those are the concerns that I have. But he was a guy who was linked to the 76ers for a while, right? And they stayed pat and got their guy. But I was just surprised that they wouldn't basically abort the plan, so to speak, because the guy Connect fell to him. Now, maybe they have some information that we don't know, but to me, that was a shocker, a little bit of a shocker. But I do like McCann, but I just felt like Connect with him falling, that sometimes, teams adjust.
That's what I don't understand is we're not trashing McCann. That's not the issue. The issue is whether or not he's the best fit for this team right now. And the Sixers are in win now mode. They're not in rebuild mode.
That's not the moves they're making right now. So I ask you both, are they?
Well, we can ask Keith in a minute, but my opinion is that you're in win now mode. That you have Embiid here. You don't know how much longer he's got of good years, considering how continuously he gets hurt. And so if you're going to build around him, why would you build around him with two small guards that are not going to be able to guard teams like the Celtics that they're going to have to be facing? And I would say that even if you're not going to go with Dalton Connect, who seemed to fall right in their laps and is more NBA ready, you also had somebody, and Keith, you wrote an article about it, about Tristan da Silva, who is a more NBA ready right now person. He doesn't have as much upside, but he had a higher floor. And why is it that the Sixers? And in a greater sense, why is it that the NBA frowns upon somebody who's 22 or 23 years old? Do they really think that if you get somebody that's 19, they're gonna have them till 40, so that they'll have 21 years instead of 18 years? What's the logic behind it?
Yeah, it's like the NBA is all about upside. You know what I mean? You know that, and it's that a lot of times it's kind of like a swing for the fence, and I don't care if I strike out type of thing, as opposed to getting a singles hitter, right? You know what I mean? Like I hate to say that, but that's just what it is. I mean, it's to a point where I remember I was talking to a guy. He's in the league now, but I remember when he left after his junior year, and I was like, "Dang, I thought you wanted to get your degree." And he was like, "Yeah, Keith, I would have got my degree, but my stock would have shrunk a little bit more by staying that year. So I felt like it was time to go." So it's best to go after your freshman year. And I guess people, they look at you now, they give you more chances. I don't know, but it just seems like a swing to the fence league. And the one thing that I want to say, though, they're all good guys. Now, if you turned on TV and you saw the NCAA tournament and you saw how McCann played, you're like, wow, this guy is going to be phenomenal, right? But so and you have that factor, and it's like the wow factor, like social media. This guy, dude, let me tell you this. Yeah, y'all gonna like. My daughter comes down the morning after the draft and talks about how was the draft, and I was like, it was okay. And then she's like, oh, okay, well, they got McCann, huh? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, do you know who he is? And she's, oh yeah, I follow him on TikTok. Oh, I want to get one of his jerseys. Can you buy me his jersey when it comes out? My daughter could care less about any other stuff, but he's a TikToker who she follows. So it's kind of like, what's going on here? But you understand what I'm saying? So it's like these kids love him. So he's going to bring an element to the Sixers, but at the same time, it's kind of like I feel bad for him because you're going to have some old head saying, bruh, we love the TikTok. All that stuff is great, but you got to make them shots. Yeah. You got to guard people. That's what's going to happen. But again, this move,
I don't love the TikTok. I cannot believe. I'm happy for the young kids that they have somebody to follow on TikTok.
Oh, look at you! You went with I'm happy for the young kids. Oh, okay, my.
Well, okay, I'm old, but guess what? I'm watching a basketball game. I don't need somebody who has personality. As Jason texted me at one point the night of the draft, he goes, "We're going to have the most likable backcourt in the NBA.
We're going to have the happiest backcourt in the NBA, Keith." But my question is, can they be on the court at the same time? He's only 6'2", and he's not a point guard. So he's more, it seems like a two guard. They're trying to make Maxey into running the point, but that's not his natural place to be. Neither of them are the tallest players on the court. And Jeff mentions, you want to compete with the Celtics, you want to compete with other physical teams. Can that backcourt do it together?
Well, they're saying right now that, that was a question that I asked Daryl Morey, right? About that, and he said, right now, and I'm paraphrasing that, they probably won't be on the court a lot. He also said that
that's my concern.
At this particular time, this guy's coming off the bench. Of course, if they're not going to be on the court a lot, he's going to have to come off the bench. But he feels like this was a guy who was attacked a lot at Duke initially, and then he became a better defender. So that's what the hope is, that, he can become a better defender. But
so he's a project?
I guess you say he's a project on the defensive end. Yeah, I guess you have to say that. But I guess they felt like he was the best available guy. I mean, let's face it. We're in the era now of analytics. Analytics say this guy can light it up. He can do everything. He's a great shooter. You have Joel Embiid. He's a guy that can come off and space the floor, right? That's what the analytics say. And he's young. He's 20. So what happens is the analytics say that you get him in the NBA, you have him with NBA coaches, he's going to develop he's going to get stronger, he's going to do everything else, and his upside, like we talked about before, is better than the other guys. They feel like the other guys, although they're there, that they're not going to improve as much as this guy.
Isn't that what the Sixers told me when they traded Mikal Bridges for Zaire Smith? Because I'm counting draft picks now, and the Knicks, the Knicks got traded 5 first-round picks, a second, and a pick swap, and I got 13 games out of the potential upside of Zaire Smith here in Philly. So I'm tired of hearing about we're going to draft for upside for guys that don't fit in a system that they're not clear what it's going to be. Like Jeff said it. Oh, they're in win now mode. That's not the moves they're making. They drafted a backup to Tyrese Maxey the other night right now. That's what he is. So I'm confused as a fan what I'm watching. And I'm Mr. Hopeful on this show.
That's why I'm smiling. I'm like, yo, what happened to him?
Jason, what floor are you on right now? Because
I'm confused. It seems like the Celtics have a plan and a vision for what they want to be. The Knicks want to be tough and physical and recreated Villanova. And whether you think that's good or not, they know what they want to be. What do the Sixers want to be?
I don't know, man.
A second round playoff, dude.
They want to get shooters. They want to get energy guys.
What are they trying to recreate Danny and the Miracles?
If you look at they want to get shooters. They want to get energy guys. They want to get guys who they feel like can be diamonds in the rough. That's what it looks like right about now.
We don't have time for diamonds in the rough. Here's a more important question than what the fans think. What does Joel Embiid think of this pick?
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. But see, the thing is, I think more so than the draft, we'll get a better idea of how Joel Embiid thinks once free agency hits.
And once we get a 35, 36-year-old broken down former star with a big name, because that's what we're looking at.
I was going to say, if you could even get that.
If they can get that. It just looks like that, when we think about it, LeBron James isn't going anywhere, right?
Now that the Lakers drafted Bronny.
I know, they don't have to trade him to Philly and LeBron the whole nine. So after the Lakers, so you have that thing. So Jimmy doesn't appear to be going anywhere, right?
Right.
And if you after Paul George basically was saying how players talk and he's not chasing the championship and he would like to stay on the West Coast. It seems like you can be out on that, right? Mm-hmm. So. And then you talk about your options. Is it DeMar DeRozan going after him, who could be an option if Paul in LA, if Paul George leaves? Mm-hmm. Is it trying to make a trade for Brandon Ingram? Zach LaVine, there Klay Thompson. There's really not a lot out there, especially with OG going back to the Knicks. Mm-hmm. So, to me, it's just. It's tough, man. It's one of those things like if you take the salary out of it, because believe me, bro, I would love to make Daryl Morey type money. But outside of that, I don't know if I want his job this summer, mm-hmm. right? Because it's like, there's a lot of expectations, and unless they pull a rabbit out their hat, I don't think they're going to be able to live up to them this summer, especially not after what the Knicks did.
I would argue not only after what the Knicks did. If you look at other teams just in the East, forget the West, the Orlando Magic are literally following the Celtics model now. Get a bunch of relatively big guys who can play four positions, defend 4 positions, shoot, and they just added another one. And so they're on the upswing. You have Cleveland, depending on what they do. They still have to deal with Donovan Mitchell. They're on the upside. The Sixers haven't gotten better as a result of this draft. If the argument is that this is somebody who needs time, that he's a project, that his start in the NBA is the backup to Tyrese Maxey, then the Sixers haven't gotten better while other teams are getting better and are younger.
And in the second round, it seems like we drafted the backup to Joel Embiid. So Like,
yeah, but the funny thing is not to the good off topic, and I'm sorry about this, but do you really understand what the Orlando Magic are doing? Like, so what they did is they went out there and drafted De Silva, right? So he's another German. So they got 3 Germans on the team. Of course, they have the brothers who went to that school up in the north, right?
Yeah.
So wherever they go, or is it
that
down
really
south?
good school called Michigan?
Yeah, that really, where you don't want to live at, right? But anyway, so aside from that, so it's kind of like the two brothers are they're a part of the German national team where De Silva's brother is on the national team.
Right. You're talking about the Wagner.
The Wagners, yeah. Right. So you're like, that's genius, because it's like that's a homecoming. Although they're all like Americanized, so to speak, because they've been here a little bit. But you're talking about, wow, that's a smart pick. Talk about camaraderie. So then you look at the Knicks. They got the Nova Nation stuff. That's kind of overblown, but it's not overblown because it's relationships, right?
They're going to love playing with each other.
They're going to love playing with each other. Like, so it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just like, you're right. Everybody else is making moves, and Joel is looking at like, what are we doing? And then what's going to happen?
Alone. I'm sitting there doing the same thing.
But see, what's going to happen is, if they don't get this thing right, we're going to start seeing cryptic tweets. We're going to, things like that, and people are going to try to downplay it. Like, no, that's not what he meant. He'll downplay it. Like, nah, I was just trolling. But deep down inside, it's like, you're right, y'all. You guys are right. Because what you even look at the Indiana Pacers. They're saying now TJ McConnell's like untouchable. Like, they're going to bring him back. They have Pascal Siakam. I mean, they have all these teams that are young talents that have their core, and the East is getting better. The one team, like you said, is what is the Cleveland Cavaliers, like you said, Jeff, what are they going to do? But I don't know. That's what I'm saying, man. It was a lot of things. It's kind of like, and I hate to say it this way, but it's kind of like the Sixers were playing checkers and everybody else was playing chess. It's like they were waiting for this summer to do something while other teams were being active last season, and now look at them. And then you look at the draft, everybody's drafting for fit because they want a core group. And the Sixers still trying to build a team, build a roster.
Right. But you just said the magic sentence. Teams are drafting for fit now.
Yeah.
If you're drafting for fit, that means you're ready to go to the next level. You only draft best player available if you're completely developmental. If you're the Wizards, you draft best player. If you're the Hornets, and poor KJ Simpson went to them, you're drafting for the future. If you're drafting for fit, it means you're ready to go to the next level. The Sixers just didn't do that. Dalton Connect was a better fit for the Sixers for the next couple of years.
For right now, yeah. Right now. But yeah, they feel like this guy, because of his shooting, that he's a better fit with Joel Embiid in regards to opening up space and everything like that. But yeah.
Only if he can be on the court with Maxey. That's the thing that, you talk about these teams, they're getting length. The Sixers aren't. So, I'm all for shooters and stuff, but if they get blocked... Can you imagine that both of those guys on the court at the same time every time the Celtics come down the floor? Who's guarding him? It's the Monstars playing the Looney Tunes team at that point. Like you got a bunch of big dudes.
Can you tell which one of us has young kids?
With long arms. and
I hope that's the reason.
I love Maxey, and my kid loves Maxey. And it sounds like McCann is a fun player and a good shooter. But you talk about fit. What is the fit here? And again, I'm the optimist. If I'm this way, How are
this show went off the rails?
How are the other Sixers fans? Like Jeff checked out years ago and said, when they get past the second round, let me know. And every year,
I gave up my season tickets.
Every year for me,
I put my money where my mouth was.
Hope springs eternal. And I talk myself into how this team is going to be able to compete and play. I don't even know what team I'm talking myself into competing yet.
Yeah, now here's the thing. A lot of people around the league, when you talk to executives from other teams, they really like McCann. They do. However, they felt like for this team, and this wasn't even before Connect came, but for this team, they felt like Da Silva, because of his age, because of his shooting ability, because of his length, they felt like he would be a great fit for the Sixers. You know, that's what a couple guys told me. But then it was after the 76ers made the draft pick, I spoke to one of those guys. He said to me, he says, look, I like McCann.
Not very good.
He says, I like McCann. He says, I like him a lot. He says he's tougher than most people think. He's a good player. He says, but I just felt like there were other guys available that had great fit. And he even said, look him up. And I looked up and I saw where, in high school, he some of the phenomenal games he had, the eight threes that he hit against Florida State the first time, and then in the NCAA tournament he came out like the guy can light it up. He has upside. He can play. But again, it's one of those things. So the one thing that I will say is that a lot of times we always think teams win drafts and they lose drafts, and we find out later on what happened. But, it's when, and who knows, even though Daryl said he's going to be here a long time, if there's a team that really wants him and they have some assets to give the Sixers to help the Sixers get over the hump, I don't think he's untradeable. You know what I mean? And even this summer. So we'll see, man. But you guys are right. It was kind of like one of the things that you weren't really, you were expecting it, but when things happen, you kind of sort of, you weren't. But I don't know. The Sixers just have a lot of moves to make. Like, they're not as close to winning the championship as of today as a lot of people thought they would be as soon as the season ended.
Do they know
You know what I mean? A lot of people thought, and the thing is, I think that a lot of times we're a little bit naive. I'm talking about 70 people from Philadelphia when it comes to the Sixers, because, everybody thinks that this was going to be such a great destination. Everybody thinks that playing with Joel Embiid and playing with Tyrese Maxey is something that people want to do. Everybody thought that having those 5 first-round draft picks, would be great, and having especially number 16. And then what happened? The day of the draft, we're hearing reports that Houston was willing to give up their star center and the number 3 pick and include those things in a package for Kevin Durant. So then we're talking about, okay, so they're willing to give that up, whereas the Sixers have the number 16th pick, and you can give up Paul Reed and Ricky Council, whereas these guys can give up a borderline all-star in the number 3 pick. So that's what I'm talking about, being naive. Just because you have 5 picks. And not only that, let's keep the thing about these picks, future picks. The Sixers want to be good. They want to be good.
Are we sure? Because they're not showing it.
So look, if they're saying they want to be good, what do you think those picks are going to be like? They're not going to be lottery picks. They're not. So down the road, it's like, now, unless they just do a straight rebuild and start struggling, then all of a sudden it means something. The picks that you want are like the Brooklyn Nets picks, the Detroit Pistons pick, things like that, because you're going to get a good young player. But if you get a guy like, hey, what we found out, Jaden Springer, that was a first-round pick. So what did the Sixers turn that into?
By the way,
a second-round pick.
Jaden. By the way, what did he win recently?
A title.
That's right.
Yeah, he won one of these. That's what he won. This is
What is that?
Is a Toronto Argonauts championship ring.
Okay, you know what? Well, this is way off the subject. Why in the world do you have a Toronto Argonauts Canadian Football League ring?
I was in Canada and they were it's that great. Yeah, I was in Canada.
So what, you just walk into the great country of Canada and they hand you a
Let
ring?
me tell you this is how, seriously.
You got it in a Cracker Jack box.
I'm literally, I'm in Toronto.
This wasn't, by the way, Jason, this wasn't in the document.
No, we did not.
I was in, here it is. Look, y'all, it's like I was in Toronto and like someone said, "Hey, Keith, you want a ring?" I said, "A ring?" They're like, "Yeah, like they got extra rings."
Somebody was proposing to you.
No, so I was like, so I'm like, you guys are joking. They like, Keith, not seriously, we're giving them out. The person didn't want it. I was like, all right, I guess. So I take it, and it's in the closet for like over a year and a half at my house. So I open it up, and I'm thinking like it's like some little trinket or something like that. And come to find out, it's a real ring. And I'm like, wow, they just gave me this? Like, yeah, it was a friend of mine. So
doesn't even fit on your finger.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't even fit over your beginning of your knuckle.
Oh my goodness.
So maybe
those Canadian CFL. See that they always say that the CFL, the players are smaller. Look, even the rings are smaller.
All right, Keith. Before we let you go, free agency is going to open on Saturday. Am I just going to lose my mind watching that?
Do you have high blood pressure?
I will.
I hope you don't. I say don't. I mean, who knows? I mean, yeah, probably. I think the domino is going to fall after
Paul George does it.
Decides to do, and then we'll find out. But it may not. I mean, who knows? You never know. But it doesn't appear to be. I mean, this is a weak free agent class.
Jeff's been saying that all year. I kept saying, "Oh, they got picks and flexibility now and money," and Jeff kept going, "For what?"
You know what the Sixers should do? Isn't Rex Chapman big on social media? Why don't they get him out of retirement because he might have a really good social media following?
Oh, God. Keith, we've gone off the rails.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. This is the thing about this free agent class. Okay, so what do you feel? Tyrese Maxey is already a Sixer, right?
Mm-hmm. For now.
What do you feel about James Harden?
No.
What do I feel about him? Animosity?
Okay. So what do you feel about, do you think the Sixers should bring Tobias Harris back?
No.
Well, we just named
there's
three
no other choices.
And that's the thing. Tobias is one of the best remaining free agents now.
Mm-hmm.
We just brought up 3 of the top 7 free agents.
All right. So what you're telling me is I need to go to the pharmacy and get blood pressure med today. Check.
So then outside of that is LeBron.
He ain't coming.
Paul George.
He ain't coming.
DeMar DeRozan.
I don't know if I want that.
And who's the other guy?
Well, it's the
it was Pascal and OG,
and
they were supposed.
And that's where the Sixers got outmaneuvered because their teams traded for them in season, then and extended them with max deals. So that's where you're talking about checkers versus chess.
Now, the one thing that I will say is what New York was able to do was they were able to stockpile all those assets. And the Sixers, they can say, guess what? We're going to stockpile assets. The only problem with that is...
That's called the process. That didn't work too well.
The longer you wait, Joel's window...
I was going to say, if you're going to do that as a Sixers, you got to move Embiid. His window will close before the other window opens. And I don't want to end the interview like that, but I mean, it's just what it is right now. They got to decide what they are. Are they a team that's going for it or a team that's building? Because you can't be both right now with where Joel Embiid is in his career, seems.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Keith. Keith Pompey, I'm going to let you go before you take any more shots at Michigan. I'm sure you'll take them on the way out anyway.
Yeah,
just remind him to do that.
I think Ohio State has better players, though. You have to agree to that, though.
Yeah, but you know what? I was actually going to end this on a different note, which is Bub Cunningham. Pitt's
yeah, I know. Pitt has better players. Believe that. Pitt has better players.
They had better players.
Yeah,
they have one. Who? Michigan? What y'all doing in basketball?
You wait to see what we're going to do with that.
I mean, what y'all doing? You got to go the German route. You got to bring on the international. That's what it is, bro.
Follow Keith at Pompey on Sixers. Get your blood pressure medicine ready. And Keith, we will talk to you again soon, my man.
We need a new sponsor every time Keith comes on.
Take it easy, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas.